because I don't want to false advertise. I am going to give you some anesthesia tips, but today's going to be just a little bit different. If you email me, I turned it off because it got a little bit overwhelming with the responses it's sending out, and I apologize if you got multiple ones. But my father passed, and I'm going to end my tips with something about him. Okay, so I got a lot of questions while I was out, and I'm going to try to I picked one just because it's kind of simple and I can do this pretty quickly, I hope. So it's about choosing other codes when the crosswalk doesn't offer an option. So in this particular one, I actually am going to pull up the codes itself. I'm going to get to that one, but let me pull up the codes themselves first to get us to where we are going. Oh, I had a bonus. I'm going to try to still make this quick, you guys. So if you pick a code, let's say Botox, and anesthesia is not an option, which it is not. We'll go down and look at it real quick, and it says anesthesia care is not typically required, but if it's medically necessary, payment should not be denied. That's going to be true with any of your services. So what happens here is you can go to the crosswalk, and if you don't agree that the code that they offer, which this is years back, there's no crosslink for it now, but there used to be one for 01991, which is, and I'll show you real quick, the injection therapeutic or diagnostic. Now someone might choose a different code, the anatomical, and they're all somewhere around the same type of base units, 3 to 4, unless it's prone, and then I believe that increases it to 5. However, you also want to make sure, and I didn't pull up this one, so I'm going to real quick, that you have an ABN sign. That's an Advanced Beneficiary Notice. If it's Medicare, there's one online. You can find it easily enough. If it's a commercial, I will also include this link for you, and it was shared with me by an anonymous anesthesia friend, but it's an ABN for commercial or private pay use. The tip with that is you really don't want to wait until the day they're having surgery. That 28238, it's a code that only currently crosswalks to 1,01480, but it could crosswalk to another code, and if it does, you can choose that code. What I typically would do, though, is send in a proposed change or addition. They have to be sent by June of the year before the books are out. The deadline will be on here. So this year, the deadline will be June 1st, 2026. And then I share, like, my resource to say, I have this article where I know from the National Institutes of Health that this may also involve the other area. You don't always have to, but if you do, that's fine. All right, so that's, I'll show you. It didn't come across this year because I went and picked the code itself, 28238, and it did not get approved for that crosslink. It still shows 01480, but guess what? You can override that. The crosswalk is a guide. So that's my anesthesia tip. Then I'm going to pop over to another one. I'm going to give links to all of this. If you have been contemplating maybe wanting to speak at the anesthesia meetings, they are few and far between now, but we have them, and I will always have them listed on my website. There's an opportunity later this year from Decision Health. That was the Select Coder program here that I'm actually using. I love it. There are more. Not promoting. I'm just sharing my information. I've grateful to Decision Health for reaching out to me all those years ago, because I'm one of the people who would not have volunteered without them asking. So if that's you and you want to try, I would recommend going up and go ahead and signing up. But if you're an AAPC member, get some legs behind you and maybe do or offer to do a couple of your local so that you have a comfort level on the local level, and then see how you do. There are so many of you who have knowledge to share. All right, I said I'm going to do a little bit personal because when I was going through my father's things, I found a service memorial for this gentleman who didn't make it back. So my dad did, he didn't. I was going to try not to cry, but I never record these. So thank you to this gentleman. My father lived 87 years. I'm more luckier than most. That's my dad. So I may not be at the office, but he gave me a really strong work ethic. So I'll catch up on everything I'm behind on and leave the memorial to those who didn't make it back. And I'm so grateful that my dad did. So that's it. All right, I'm going to end how I always end. Be kind to one another and generous with your knowledge. My dad passed a lot of good attributes down. Now we all have our flaws, that is true. But I do always try to be kind. And sometimes when you're kind to others, it comes back tenfold. So do that. And generous with your knowledge and support anesthesia meetings. And that is it for today, you guys. And probably won't get back with you till next month, but I promised one a month, and this was it.